My name is Erik. I'm from the Netherlands, and this is a story I never thought I'd share. Even now, sitting here with a cup of coffee back home, part of me wonders if keeping quiet would have been easier. But I also know there are a lot of guys out there thinking about moving to Thailand, or falling in love there, or even starting over. And I guess if my story helps just one of them slow down and look a little closer, it's worth telling. A few years ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I sold my company, I sold my house, and I walked away from a life that had become too predictable. I wasn't running from anything, I just wanted something new, something real. I wanted peace, purpose, and maybe even someone to share it with. I had just turned 42, with about 700,000 euros in my account. I didn't plan to just sit on a beach and sip coconuts. I wanted to do something meaningful. I had this dream of starting a small hotel one day, something simple, where life moved a little slower. I spent almost a year traveling, Canada, South America, Europe, and finally Southeast Asia. And when I landed in Thailand, something clicked. It wasn't just the beaches or the food or the people. It was the feeling that I could build something here, that I could be someone different. Looking back now, I realize I wasn't looking for a place to live. I was looking for a reason to start over. And that made me vulnerable in ways I didn't see at the time. This story is about what happened next, what I gave up, what I learned, and what I'll never let happen again. After I sold my business, people kept asking me what I was going to do next. I didn't have a neat answer. All I knew was that I didn't want to spend the next 30 years in meetings, managing people, and watching my life tick by from behind a desk. I had done well financially, and I wasn't ungrateful, but I was restless. I had just turned 42, single and sitting on about 700,000 euros after taxes and the sale of my home. That felt like enough to start over, somewhere, somehow. So I packed a bag and left. My plan was simple: travel the world, live light, and figure it out as I went. I started in Canada and went down through the US and Mexico, then South America, Peru, Colombia, Argentina. I liked it, but nothing really grabbed me. After a few months in Europe, mostly Italy, Greece and the Balkans, I made my way toward Asia. That's when everything changed. Singapore was beautiful but too expensive. Malaysia was nice, but didn't spark anything in me. Then I crossed the border into Thailand. I started in the south, near Hat Yai. At first I wasn't sure what the fuss was about, but then I reached Phuket, and something shifted. It wasn't just the beaches or the food, it was the energy, calm but full of life, friendly but with a sense of independence. I kept going, Krabi, Hua Hin, Chiang Mai, but it was Bangkok that really got me. The noise, the chaos, the rhythm of it all. I walked around my first night with my heart racing, not from fear but from excitement. It felt like something was waking up in me. Looking back now, I realize I wasn't just exploring a city. I was searching for somewhere to belong, and for a moment I thought I had found it. I had been in Bangkok for a few months by then, still living out of a condo near Asoke, still trying to figure out if I wanted to stay long term. I'd spend my evenings walking, eating at the little street spots, just soaking it all in. One night, a friend invited me out to a lounge on Ratchada Phisik Road. I wasn't in the mood for anything flashy, but I went anyway. I sat near the back, had a drink, and was mostly people watching when she walked in. Knock. She wasn't loud or overly done up. She had this calm presence, like she didn't need to try so hard. She smiled politely when our eyes met, and eventually we started talking. She told me she worked in the reception of a hotel, not far from where I lived, said she had been in Bangkok for almost a decade, grew up in Ayutthaya. Not much family here, just a couple of cousins she rarely saw. I shared a little about my travels, how I was thinking about building something here. She asked real questions, not the kind you ask to fill time. She listened. Before I left that night, I asked for her line ID. She gave it to me without hesitation. The next day, I messaged her. She said she was working that night, but free the day after. We arranged to meet again for dinner at a quiet place near Ari. That evening felt like something I hadn't had in a long time, something simple and real. We talked about dreams, about pressure, about how hard it can be to feel like you belong somewhere. Looking back, I think that night is when I started to hope again. I didn't know if she was the one, but I knew I wanted to find out. After that second dinner, things moved quickly. Not in a rushed way, but in that quiet, easy rhythm where one day flows into the next, and suddenly someone's a part of your life without either of you ever really saying it. Nok and I started seeing each other nearly every day. She'd finish work and come by the condo. We'd eat, watch a movie, sometimes just sit on the balcony and listen to the city. She was calm, not clingy. She didn't ask for anything. After a few weeks, she started staying over more often. Eventually, I asked if she wanted to just move in. She smiled and said yes without hesitation. I suggested she leave her job, told her we could travel around Thailand together for a couple months. She looked at me like she couldn't believe someone would offer her that kind of freedom. I told myself it was a gift, but the truth is, I didn't want her going back to that life. I didn't want anything to pull her away from what we were building. We spent the next 8 weeks exploring the country, Chiang Rai, Udon Thani, Koh Lanta, and smaller towns in between. She had never seen many of those places. Despite growing up here, we never argued, not once. We laughed, we took photos, we shared late-night meals on the beach. She'd rest her head on my shoulder during long train rides, and I'd find myself staring at her, thinking maybe I'd actually found what I came looking for. Looking back now, I realize I was mistaking peace for permanence. It all felt so easy, so natural, that I didn't stop to ask myself what was missing beneath the surface. I kept telling myself, this was the start of something real, but maybe it was just the quiet before the storm. When we got back to Bangkok after our trip, everything still felt perfect, at least on the outside. We settled into the same condo, fell into a daily rhythm again. She'd cook sometimes, or we'd grab food from the market and eat on the floor while watching Thai dramas with half-English subtitles. It was the kind of quiet life I didn't know I wanted until I had it. That's when I decided to propose. I booked a dinner at Vertigo, the rooftop bar on top of the banyan tree. I told her it was just a nice evening out. She dressed up, so did I. It was a clear night, those rare evenings when Bangkok feels almost still. After dinner, I stood up and pulled the ring out. Nothing fancy, just a simple white gold band. I didn't even get down on one knee. I just looked her in the eyes and asked. She froze for a moment, then she nodded, softly at first, and then again with a smile. Yes, she said. Of course. A few weeks later, she took me to meet her family in Ayutthaya. They weren't poor, not like the stories you sometimes hear. Her parents were warm and polite. Her brothers looked me up and down, but didn't say much. They seemed pleased. We arranged for a small traditional ceremony. I paid a dowry of 250,000 baht. It felt reasonable. Fair. I didn't feel pressured. In fact, I felt proud. Looking back now, I wonder if I confused approval for acceptance. I thought we were becoming one family, but maybe I was just becoming a provider. At the time, I couldn't see it. At the time, I thought love was enough. After the wedding, it felt like everything had clicked into place. I was married. I had a home, and now I wanted a project. Something to build with my own 2 hands, something I could wake up to every morning and be proud of. I kept going back to the same idea I'd had since my travels began. A small hotel or guest house, nothing fancy, just something warm and welcoming in a quiet area. Nok said it was a great idea. She had worked in hotels before, so she knew the industry. She said we could do it together, that this could be our thing. We started looking. Bangkok was far too expensive, so were the big tourist spots. I didn't want to spend everything I had left, and I was starting to feel the weight of every baht. One weekend, we were visiting her family in Ayutthaya, and on a quiet drive one afternoon, we saw a small hotel for sale. It had 13 rooms and a simple apartment on the top floor. Nothing special, but it felt right. The asking price was 13 million baht, way more than I had planned. But we ran the numbers. If we paid half in cash and mortgaged the rest under her name, it was just about doable. So that's what we did. I put down 6.5 million baht. She handled the mortgage application. 2 months later, we were living in the top floor apartment, and I was finally a business owner in Thailand. I had about 1.8 million baht left in the bank. Looking back now, I can't believe how calm I was. That number should have scared me, but I was still floating on the dream. I thought we were building a future. I can't believe that I was so naive, because what I didn't realize was how quickly that future could turn into a burden. The first few months went by in a blur. We had guests most nights, not full, but enough to keep the place moving. Nok handled the front desk and some of the bookings. I kept busy with maintenance, marketing, and managing the staff. It felt like a team effort. Every night, we'd sit on the balcony of our little apartment, share a drink, and talk about the future. But by March, things changed. Bookings dropped fast, whole days with empty rooms. At first, I thought it was just bad luck. Maybe some reviews hadn't gone through. Maybe the location was catching up with us. But Nok told me not to worry. It's just low season, she said. It always dips now. It will pick up again. I believed her. But I also started checking our numbers every night, and I didn't like what I was seeing. Expenses were the same. Income wasn't even close. The savings I had left were slowly disappearing. One night, after another quiet day at the hotel, we got into our first real fight. I told her how little I had left, that we needed to be more careful, that maybe we should have waited before jumping into the mortgage. Her face changed. It wasn't surprise. It was something else, cold and distant. "You should have told me," she said. "I wouldn't have agreed to this if I knew." I remember standing there speechless. I thought we were partners. I thought love meant sharing the burden. Looking back now, that was the moment the foundation cracked. Not just in the business, but between us. For the first time, I saw that maybe we weren't building this dream together. Maybe I was just funding hers. After that night, we didn't talk about money again. Not really. She didn't ask how much was left, and I didn't offer. I think we both just hoped things would turn around on their own. And for a little while, they did. The rainy season ended, and the bookings started to trickle back in. It wasn't like the first few months, but it was just enough to breathe again. We got through May, then June. But something between us had shifted. Nook was different. She stopped sitting with me in the evenings. She didn't ask how the day went. When we passed each other in the hallway, it felt like we were housemates, not husband and wife. She started going out more. Always said it was to see friends or her cousin. I never pushed. I didn't want to be that guy. The foreign husband asking too many questions. But the silence between us kept growing. At night she'd lie in bed turned away from me. Phone always in her hand, screen dimmed low. I told myself she was tired, stressed, maybe even disappointed in how things had turned out, but part of me knew better. Looking back now, I was already preparing myself to lose her. I just wasn't brave enough to admit it. I still hoped she'd come around, that the old Nook, the one who laughed with me on the beach and danced barefoot in the rain, was still there under the surface. But most nights, the apartment felt colder than the quiet lobby downstairs. And I was starting to realize something no one wants to admit. Sometimes love doesn't disappear in an instant. It just slowly stops showing up. Then came the shutdowns. It started slowly. Cancellations here and there. Guests backing out last minute. But within weeks, the entire hotel was empty. Travel had come to a standstill. I remember standing in the front lobby one morning, staring at the booking calendar. Nothing. Not a single check-in for the rest of the month. We let the staff go, not because we wanted to, but because we had no choice. I took over the cleaning. Nook stayed mostly upstairs. She said it was too depressing to sit at the desk all day. The mortgage still needed to be paid. 60,000 baht every month. Our electricity, food, maintenance costs, it all kept adding up. I checked our account one night and saw we had just over 1.2 million baht left. At this rate, we'd be out of money in less than a year. Nook hardly spoke to me during this time. She stayed on her phone constantly, said she was looking for ideas, researching how to keep the hotel alive, talking to friends. But I could feel it. She wasn't really here anymore. One night, I asked her if she still wanted to do this. The hotel, the marriage, the life we had built. She shrugged, didn't even look at me, just said, "We'll see." That answer stuck with me. It wasn't anger or frustration, it was indifference. Looking back now, that moment was worse than the arguments. At least anger meant she still cared. This was her quietly leaving before she ever walked out the door. And I was the only one still pretending we were okay. I wish I could say I was surprised. But deep down, I think I had already known. The signs were there, her constant phone use, the late nights out, the way she stopped touching me, even in passing. But still, hearing it confirmed, it hit harder than I imagined. One night, I snuck into our room and could hear her calling. I waited, listened, and then, I could hear her say "I love you" in Thai. It probably had been going on for months, since that first big argument about the money. I confronted her. At first, she denied it, said it was just a friend. I kept pushing, but she didn't say a word, just looked at me like she was waiting for it to be over. Finally, she told me everything. His name, how they met, that she had been seeing him regularly. Then, she told me she was pregnant, and it wasn't mine. I can't explain what I felt in that moment. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was something heavier, like the ground had disappeared beneath me, and I was free-falling in slow motion. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I just nodded, sat down, and went quiet. She said she was sorry, that she never meant for it to go this far. But her face didn't show regret, it showed relief. Looking back now, I don't think she ever planned for forever. I think she was with me for as long as the dream looked stable. And when it cracked, she moved on. I thought love meant weathering storms together. But for her, The first drop of rain was enough to leave the house. We didn't talk much after that. She moved downstairs to one of the empty guest rooms, while I stayed up in the apartment. The silence between us was heavy, but it was also final. I think we both knew there was nothing left to fix. I offered to sell the hotel, split whatever we could, and walk away clean. She said no. It's in my name, she reminded me. You said that was fine. She wasn't wrong. I had said that back when I believed we were building something together. Now, it just felt like a technicality being used as a weapon. She basically manipulated me into giving her half of the hotel in her name. I packed my things a week later. Just a few bags and the leftover 1.2 million baht I had left. I didn't ask for anything else. Not the furniture, not the accounts, not even the ring I gave her. Before I left, I watched her standing at the front desk, typing something on the computer, like I had already become a memory. That was the last time I saw her. I booked a flight back to the Netherlands the next day. The hotel stayed with her. From what I've heard since, her new partner paid off the mortgage and helped renovate the place. Good for them. I walked away with less than a fifth of what I started with. Luckily, I kept a decent emergency fund for if things went sideways. I'm writing this now from a small flat, just outside of my hometown. It's quiet here. Some days too quiet, but there's something peaceful about it too. Something honest. No pretending. No masks, just life, day by day. After coming home, I was a mess. I'd lost my savings, my marriage, and for a while, even my sense of self. But slowly, I started rebuilding. I took on a few consulting jobs, reached out to old contacts, and found my footing again. It wasn't easy, but it reminded me of who I used to be before I went looking for a new life. Looking back now, I can see all the red flags I ignored. Not because I was stupid, but because I was hopeful, because I wanted to believe that love could rewrite the rules of caution. I know now that love doesn't work that way, not when it's one-sided, not when it's based on what you can give instead of who you are. To be frank, I'm rather embarrassed about how things went down, and when I tell the story to friends and family, I leave out some key parts, just not to look like a complete loser. That being said, I still love Thailand. I still think it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I'll go back someday, but not to chase a dream, just to enjoy it for what it is, and eventually retire in some tropical place like Pattaya or Hua Hin. That's it for now. Erik. Thanks a lot, Erik, for sharing your story on the channel. If you have a story of your own to share, make sure to hit me up in the email in the description. And click the video on your screen right now for an even crazier story. See ya there.